We're talking about something today that really helped me advance my real estate career, and I know it will you too if you're just getting started. The 3 basic ways that you can raise investor capital. Strategy number 1 for raising investor capital, debt. This is the easiest way to raise investor capital from a structure perspective. I'm gonna talk about my investor through this video as Bill, okay? Bill, I'm gonna go to Bill. I have a real estate deal. Let's say the real estate deal is $1 million. I'm gonna go get a bank loan for $750,000. Let's say I'm gonna put in $50,000 of my own money and I need to go get $200,000 from an investor. Now, what I can do is I can go to Bill and I can say, Bill, listen, got this great deal. I'm gonna invest some of my own money. I need $200,000. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna offer you a flat 8% return on your money for as long as I borrowed your money. No upside for Bill, also no downside for Bill. If it doesn't go great, then essentially I'm going to guarantee Bill that I'm gonna pay him personally. Now again, 8% is $16,000 a year. So I'm telling Bill that I'm gonna pay him $16,000 a year in exchange for his $200,000. I'm gonna get that $200,000. I'm gonna use that $200,000 that I need to pay for the property. And really, whenever we're going through and we're looking at a pro forma, this is just a line item. This is almost like debt service, almost like payments to a bank, because this investor has invested in a debt structure. That is the basics of a debt structure. Now, you can get more fancy. I've done debt structures where I've said, hey, I'll pay you 7% a year, and whenever I do return your capital, I'll return 20% more than I gave you. So how that worked is I had an investor gave me $100,000. I offered to pay her 7% a year, and when I did pay her off, I paid her 20% more. She gave me $100,000. I paid her, I think it was $583 a month. Every single month, I sent the check to her, and then in 2 years, I'd gotten her money back, and I gave her $120,000. Great deal for her, a great deal for me, allowed me to close that deal and have a successful project. So that is the first way, debt structure. You can either offer just, hey, give me $100,000, I'll give you $100,000 back, and I'll pay you 8%, 10%, 12%, whatever the investor needs. You're probably asking me, well, how much do I offer people, Hayden? The answer is as little as possible, right? The more that you pay an investor, the less you have for yourself. Next structure up is equity without a pref. What that means is that there is no guarantee about anything. First off, in investing, there is no guarantees of anything, and you need to make that clear. But whenever you are going in with an equity investor and there's no pref, you can say, listen, there's no guarantees. We're just splitting the monies as they come out into this deal. Now, why would you do this? If you just go and you say, hey, we're gonna be 50-50 and we're gonna split the money 50-50, that's more of a partnership than an investor raise. The reason being is there's no real upside in it for you. I mean, first off, you just get to close this deal. Doesn't really mean that you're gonna make any money off of that investor investing in your deal. So if you have to have a partner just because you need the money to close, that's fine. But a lot of times what you wanna have is you wanna have some sort of split. And what that split is say, hey, you invested 50% in this deal. It's such a good deal. You're gonna get 80% of your cash flow. I'm gonna get 20% of your cash flow. So what that means is we invested 50-50, but you're only getting 40% of the cash flow and I'm getting 60% of the cash flow. I'm making an extra 10% of the overall cash flow for bringing this deal to the table. And that's called a split. You're making a split on the cash flow. You can also make a split on the sale or any sort of refinances called recapitalization events. So what that means is if you guys were to put $200,000 into the deal and you get, let's say, $1 million out of the deal, well, that investor, they put in 50%, but they only own 40% of the cash flows that came out. And so you, as the sponsor of this deal, as the general partner of this deal, that's what it's called, you would get $600,000 and they would get $400,000. The splits are what's important. You can say there's no splits and there's no pref, or you can do splits and prefs. Okay, the third way to raise investor capital is through equity, but with a pref. So let's take everything that we just talked about and let's add a pref, or what's formerly known as a preferred return, shortened for pref. So what that means is I come to you and I say, hey, Bill, I need $100,000 for this deal. I'm willing to offer you an 8 pref with a 50-50 split. So let's do an example. The deal, we did 50-50 between Bill and me, and I gave Bill an 8 pref with a 50-50 split. Now let's say that $20,000 of cash flow was produced for the deal, okay? So the $20,000 split in half, 50-50. I get my $10,000, and then Bill is gonna get his $10,000, but Bill's gonna get the first $8,000 as his preferred return, and then what the extra $2,000 is gonna be split 50-50. So Bill's gonna get the 50% of the extra $2,000, which is $1,000, and I'm gonna get the extra 50% of the $2,000, which is $1,000 my way. So Bill ends up making $9,000, or a 9% overall cash on cash return, and I make 11%. right? Or $11,000, which is an 11% cash on cash. And that money that we split is also called the promote. It's my reason for doing the deal. It's the same as the split as we talked about in the prior section. But the difference is that I'm telling Bill with a pref in place, hey Bill, guess what? I'm gonna make sure you get paid before I profit any out of your money that you've invested with me. And it makes investors feel really good to know that they're gonna earn a return before you take any of their money. And at the end of the day, that's what a pref is. We can get fancy. We can have prefs that go off of over year compounding. We can have prefs paid off of outstanding balances through refinances. We can have prefs based off of sale. There's really a million ways to raise investor capital. But for right now, that's all you need to know, the 3 ways: debt, equity with no pref, equity with a pref, and what those mean. If you guys have any questions, feel free, drop me a comment below. If you haven't already, like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I would really appreciate it. I'm here to help. Let me know if I can do anything to help you guys out on your journey to raising investor capital and growing your real estate portfolio. Be great.